Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Midori Farm Talk number 3. And today we're going to be talking to two of my volunteers who came from international countries to Japan and ended up volunteering for me in a somewhat unusual way, which is something we'll talk about. I'm here in Shiga, Japan, in a little town called Hira, and it's in Takashima City, Kutsuki, in case you're wondering. You can actually find it on Google Maps if you look at Midori Farm. And I'm sitting out here on the river in front of my little farmhouse near one of my farms. And I'm all kitted up in my farm gear, so I'm all dirty and ready to be farming because I'm right in the middle of a farm day. So I figured this is a good setting for us to have our conversation because our two guests joining us are very familiar with this setting, as they would come down here a lot and eat lunch and just read a book and things like that. So with no further ado, I'm going to welcome Clémentine and Hannah to the event. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Hannah, you came to us first. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Hello, my name's Hannah. I'm from Queensland, Brisbane, Australia. And I studied advertising at university, but I really didn't enjoy it. So after I graduated, I decided to do some soul searching, and I moved over to Japan and worked as a English teacher in Nagoya City for about a year. I really like anything to do with being outside. I love hiking and surfing and swimming and the beach, and being in Japan was a wonderful experience for me, and I love the Japanese landscape. It was absolutely gorgeous. I'm back in Australia now after a really long process trying to get home thanks to COVID-19. But yeah, back in very hot Queensland. I think it's 35 today, but indoors, so under the fan, so it's not too bad. And I'm getting set to start uni again in February. I will be doing my master's in environmental management, so I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, that's like a 180 from advertising, isn't it?
Very. That's the whole point. I just, in retrospect, I'm like, I really just chose that degree because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my mother said, you have to do something. So I went, oh, that might be useful, I guess. But now I feel like I've really found my passion and my calling. And so I'm looking forward to diving into that, into environmental management and sustainability. Be good.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I studied psychology in school, and I became a teacher, so it's pretty useful. I studied cognitive psychology, and I found that it's very valuable insights into the human condition and the human mind. And I think in advertising, you probably study a lot of that as well. So maybe some of that will actually carry over into other parts of your life.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite subjects was consumer behavior and consumer psychology. And that kind of indirectly led me to sustainability, because one of my research projects was on trying to change consumer behaviors to deviate away from single-use plastics and why they're so popular and why so many people still choose to use single-use packaging even though they know it's so bad for the environment. So yes, definitely not a waste of time, because indirectly it led me to what I want to do now. So yeah, that's good.
Awesome. That's great. And you come from Australia, which is of course in its summer now. So you were able to leave here and go right into summertime, which is nice. As you said, it's 35 degrees there today. Do you have any contact with any farms there or any experience there?
I don't have much experience here. My godfather owns quite a bit of property down the coast it's a beautiful area near Byron Bay. And his property actually backs onto a native bird conservation area. So he's got sanctuary, which is wonderful. He has a huge vegetable garden and a citrus orchard and that sort of thing. And so I've done a lot of help with him. and mainly just manual labor, helping him put in retaining walls and that sort of thing. And then what else? A friend of mine works at a place also in Byron Bay called The Farm, and she is helping with their, I'm going to get this term wrong probably, eco-agronomy. Yeah, eco-agronomy. So like production horticulture, but sustainable. She's doing that. So I'm very excited to go down the coast once the waters relax a bit more and visit her and see her at work. Yeah, hopefully get my hands dirty.
Was that the place you told me about that has the pig house that says "Come meet your bacon"? Yeah,
that's on. So yes, it's very much like farm to table experience.
Right. Well, great. That's great. And one last question before I ask Clémentine the same kind of battery is when you came to Japan, or when you were thinking about coming to Japan, did you ever think you would end up volunteering at an organic farm?
No, I really wanted to experience Japanese landscape and nature. But I have to admit, farm wasn't really on my radar. I presumed that most fruit and veg would be imported because Japan's such a small island. But and I didn't have much knowledge about like the organic kind of landscape for what was available. It was a little bit unexpected, but very enjoyable. Okay. A good surprise.
That's great. We're going to talk more about that later. I just wanted to get a general sense of what your expectations were and what your intentions were when you came over, because it sounds like you were kind of in not a crisis, but kind of in a point where you wanted to change things up for yourself and kind of come to Japan and see what you could do here, because clearly you didn't want to go into the English teaching profession, so to speak. You just wanted a break and just kind of reevaluate stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Really, after I finished my undergrad and I worked in the field, I did an internship, and actually my internship was with a natural resource management company, and I was on their media comms team, and I didn't like having to do the media comms work, but I loved working for the organization, and we got to work quite closely with the scientists who were all, their fields were like fire and biodiversity or water management, waste management. I was like, wow, I love that. I'm so interested in that. But then I had to go back to my desk and write up like a report on our like SEOs and all that sort of thing. I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to be doing what the scientists are doing.
Right on.
But yeah, so when I was moving to Japan, I really was just giving myself a year not to worry about career, not to worry about what the next step was going to be, to take that pressure off and just see where that took me and see where I found myself at the end of that year. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you, Hannah, so much. I see that Tong has joined us. Tong has volunteered with us a couple of times. She's been a very valuable member from Midori Farm. Hello, Tong, if you're listening.
Hi, Tong.
Hello, Jack. Hi, Hannah.
So nice long time no see.
Your camera's off, but we can see your picture.
Yeah.
There you are.
Sorry,
you're
I'm
walking
walking
around.
Because I
That's
I
okay.
will open again in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, be safe and we'll see you later. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Let's switch over to, Clémentine. Would you please do the same? Kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Sure. I'm Clémentine. I come from France. I've been living in Japan for about 6 years now, and I'm designer. I create accessories, bags mainly, which I create recycling discarded kimono fabric and other obsolete Japanese textiles. So in a way, I think recycling and the concept of zero waste is present in my work, of course, and also in my life, in my lifestyle. So until last year, I was living in Kyoto, and I recently moved to Miyazaki, which is in the south of Kyushu. That's about the most south you could go if you stay on the main island. And so I switched to a more countryside lifestyle recently. Yeah.
And what was it that brought you to Japan in the first place?
My studies, my fashion studies. I graduated from a fashion school called S-Mode in France, and I already worked a little bit for my internship in London, and it was time for me to look for a job, and I had no idea which country I would go. I think I would never have chosen Japan if I had to choose it, but my school was launching professionalizing year, and another after postgraduate, maybe you say in English, in Tokyo. So I was invited to join this for a year, and for me it was the opportunity to be like postponing the job research and taking the time to thinking about what I really want to do, because I think I always wanted to have my business, have my brand, which was connected to recycling. That's something I was sure about. But I think I still had a long way to decide exactly where and how and what. And then, in Japan, I realized there is everything I wanted to create with, and I love the life here. I also was really falling in love with the landscapes. First of all, from seeing them in the textiles I use, and then just realizing, because the first year I was living in Tokyo, you don't really have landscapes in Tokyo unless you go to parks or if you take a train to go to the nearest mountains. But once you step out of the big cities in Japan, it's just amazing nature everywhere, mountains everywhere, which I really love.
Which part of France do you hail from?
I'm from a place called Alsace on the German border on the east of France.
That's right. Nice wine.
Exactly.
So you're used to the mountains and things like that.
I mean, if you see the mountains in Alsace, you would probably call them hills. They're not good enough to have vineyards. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, that's all that's important.
And do some easy hikes, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you, I mean, let me ask this in a different way. Now your sole job is just creating your own goods?
Yes. So, yes, actually, I started to switch to teaching inside my own business. So I had the chance to teach in a fashion school to Japanese students for 4 years, and I stopped this to focus on my own business. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that I didn't want only to create goods. It was more important for me to share with people how to do it. And I started to organize workshops where people could join and learn how to make their own good rather than buying it. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that if you make people do something, that's the best way of getting them to be aware of what the process takes, and which is also, I'm going to talk about it as well later, but which is also why I wanted to volunteer, because I think farming is something that you don't want to be learning from books. It's better to go in the place and feel everything and see everything. So I wanted to do this, and then COVID came, and my whole year was planned on travel, spending a lot of time in Australia, where I used to work a lot with really exciting projects, which were all cancelled, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
So, yeah.
And well, it's fun.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's funny what fate has done to so many people because of COVID, and lots of plans changed. And,
but for me, in my case, I think because the first month of getting everything cancelled was it was the year of change really for me. So I took a lot of risk. I spent a lot of time, and I was really excited to get this done. And then everything was canceled. And because I had recently moved to a house with a garden, I spent so many hours outside just weeding and looking at stuff grow. And I think that for my mental health, that was really good. And then, yeah, I realized I would like to grow stuff, but I have no idea how to do. Even though I saw my dad doing this my whole life, because in my family, I think everyone has a garden and try to be, how do you say, self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they grow their own vegetables, and I always saw that, but now I'm here. I can't go back home, so
Mm-hmm.
I have no chance to learn about it. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've had probably 50 or 60 volunteers in the past 3 or 4 years come to the farm, some for a day, some for 4 months, and everything in between. And I would say the largest demographic for me has come from France. And I think that's partly due to one of the volunteer organizations that I use. But also, I just get a real sense from the French volunteers who come that they're very connected to their food and how it's grown, and they care more about the environment and nature in general. And I know that a lot of French for holiday often go camping and things like that. So there's kind of that spirit that I'm also I also live by, is to respect your environment and take care of it and your community, and to eat healthiest food you can that's sustainable. So I feel like the French are a little bit ahead of the curve compared to a lot of other countries. So, yeah. Thank you very much, Clémentine. I appreciate that. Okay, well, let's switch questions a little bit. But first, let me ask. We have a few other people joining us. There's Tong and there's Masako. Do you have any questions so far for Hannah or Clémentine?
Thank you, Jack. Both of your stories are very interesting, but at this place, I'm very interested in Clementine's ideas to recycle the kimono to the accessory. Where did you get that idea? Because
Recycling was something I did since I started to study fashion. Mm-hmm. So even back in France, I was recycling old clothes, which didn't look so good, to be honest. My goal was to turn something old and bad looking into something new and good looking. And when I moved to Japan, as I said, I was not planning to stay, but I realized how many kimono people are giving away or they're not wearing anymore. Mm-hmm. And this was a beautiful material to recycle. So mm-hmm. You don't need to make it look beautiful. It's already beautiful, and it's a bit sad to let it go to waste. So that's why. Okay,
thank you. Yeah, it's very reasonable. As I'm Japanese, so I also have a kimono, but it's very tough to wear. There's a lot of process, so your idea is very nice. But at the same time, I'm very curious. Your that idea. How did it connect in your volunteer working at your tax farm? It at a glance, it's really far fashion and farm.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think because when you want to do the right thing for your business, mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily money driven. Like, I want to live from this, obviously, because that's what I do. But I want my concept to be genuine, and I want to do something that feels good. And then you start to apply this to everything in your life, right? You want to eat well, you want to buy what's produced the right way as well. And I think if you have this with one aspect of your life, it obviously spreads with everything. Because in fashion, I'm really aware of the working conditions of, like, I really rarely buy something new because I know what's behind it. And in agriculture, for example, I think I have some knowledge. And as Chuck was saying, I think in France, we are really, the media really speak about it a lot too. So we're already aware of the situation. And yeah, I think it's just a general how can I say,
Yeah,
way of
understandable.
living that I want to expand. It doesn't make sense to do something for your business and then don't apply, live in a really polluted city where you're always stressed and you eat stuff that come and they're full of chemicals, they're packed in plastics, and it doesn't make sense then to create something sustainable on the other hand.
Thank you. Very insightful. Thank you so much. And we have seen other members there, so please go ahead, Jack.
Thank you, Masako. That was a good question.
Thank you.
And I actually noticed somebody else joined us, Kathy, my sister from the area of Chicago. Hi, Kathy. Nice to see you there. Please feel, we can't hear you, but please feel free to ask any questions you have and chime in and comment. I'm happy to see your face. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on then. Hannah, I'm going to go back to you now. I'm curious, could you explain to me how you went from being an English teacher in Nagoya to coming to Kutsuki and being a volunteer on the organic farm?
Yes, of course. Well, like Clementine said before, when you're living in a polluted city and like very, so just like highly and densely populated.
I know the Nagoya is a very good example, right?
Yeah. So I was living in Nagoya's very industrial city. That's the city my company placed me in when I first moved to Japan. And city life is for some. I'm not one of those people. And after a year, it was just too much for me. And I wasn't getting the opportunity to see the side of Japan I wanted to see. I was fortunate enough to go on quite a few domestic holidays, spend some more time in the countryside. And luckily, some friends and I got to go out camping quite a bit in Japan, which was amazing. Absolutely loved it. Camping's something I do a lot in Australia, and so it was nice to see how different it is, because the environment and the landscape was so different to what I'm used to over here. And after a year working with my company, I thought, right, that's it. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep living in the city, and I definitely can't do another grey city winter. And so I hopped on to a organization called Workaway, who match up like volunteers with people all over the world that need help. And it could be help like nannying or farm work or companionship for like more elderly couples or housework, anything. And so I started having a browse on Workaway and also on another site called Woofing, like willing workers on organic farms. And it was just really looking for a chance to connect with nature a little bit more. And I'm very interested in like sustainable agriculture, and I wanted to get more of a feel of what that was like. I've had my own veggie patch in Australia, but I wanted to see what it looks like on a larger scale as well. And then Midori Farm was up there, and when I had a look and had a read, I was very impressed and very interested to learn more. And especially Chuck, you being a foreigner and having achieved that in Japan, and pushing hard to kind of make a difference in your community, I wanted to learn more. And so reached out, and rest is history. Is that what we say?
That's great. That's great. Yeah, let me just take a moment to give credit where it's due to the Workaway organization. I think it's based in California, actually. I know it's from America, but they're an organization that started about 10 or 15 years ago, much like the WOOF that you mentioned, which was, I think, the original volunteer program for people to help out. And it was, at that time, just farms. And but then as time went on and industries kind of diversified, they started having other potential work on that as well, just like they do on Workaway. And as you said, Workaway, you can do a wide variety of things. And actually, a very nice person who's a good friend of mine who volunteered with me for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years in the city, she helped me set up the whole Workaway platform. And she's the one who convinced me to actually start taking on volunteers. Her name is Mika, and she's in Canada. If you ever see this, hey, Mika, thank you again for all your great work. And most of the people that come through Kyoto who are Workaway volunteers end up working at guest houses, because Workaway is a great way for you to travel and not have to pay any money for rent and maybe even for food, depending on the situation and the arrangements with that particular organization. But for me, I provide room and board, food, meals, and a bed. And then the people are working 25, 30 hours a week. And then the rest of the time, they can just travel and bum around and do whatever they want. And Kyoto is such a vibrant city and such a popular place, a destination where lots of international people are coming. It's very exciting to be here and to have, your basically your rent taken care of and part of your food. So most of the people that come through Kyoto are doing guest houses, and a few people are doing some other kind of volunteer efforts like the Japan Cat Network or river cleanup or things like that. And I've found people are very impressed that there's an organic farm on the list. And since I joined 3 years ago, I think there's been a few other agricultural enterprises join up. I think they're all Japanese run, but they're still quite good. And some of my volunteers have bounced between them. And from the reports I hear, they're all very nice people and they're very worthwhile things. So if any of you out there are listening or watching this, you might want to check that out for your next holiday, because not only can you travel somewhere and stay for free, but also you can get to know people who are doing that. If it's something you're interested in, whether it be, like you said, something educational, something more social, or something more business-like, you get to know the people who are doing that, and you could have a personal experience with them. And the unique thing to my Workaway situation, as far as I can gather, is that most people live in the house with the people they're volunteering for. Whereas with me, people are living out here in the mountains, which is beautiful, but quite far away from the city, which is where I live. So I only come up a couple of days a week and get to spend time with the volunteers, and otherwise they're free to do as they like. But I, of course, give them jobs for finishing up their work week. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and you can really make a difference if you join something like an eco project. So I encourage you to give it a try, especially if you've got the curiosity and the sense to want to help out. So, yeah. And you said sorry, back to you, Hannah. You said that you decided on Midori Farm. Could you tell me more specifically, what did you expect when you were first going to come out here? I'm curious.
Oh, I didn't really know what to expect. Just wanted a bit of an adventure. I liked that Midori Farm, very good location. And as you said, you can kind of drive to Kyoto City, but otherwise it's quite isolated. And I was definitely expecting a different experience and, how should I phrase this? Like a different taste of Japan. Because all my past travels, because I'd come to Japan a number of times before I moved there, I'd always stayed rather in a city. And of course, each area of Japan is very different. But I was looking forward to, I don't know, I guess seeing the true kind of more rural lifestyle in Japan. I was expecting hard work, but there was nothing I couldn't manage, which was good. And yeah, learning more about organic farming. I think Midori Farm provides a good experience because it's kind of a midway point between your personal project, say a vegetable garden, and huge production farming. Yeah. But yes, sorry, not really a proper answer. in terms
No,
of
it is.
expectations,
There's no right
I
or
don't know.
wrong answer here.
I don't know what I was expecting. I
Okay.
was expecting some peace and quiet to
Sorry,
learn
can I
more.
ask a question?
Yeah.
Thank you for it. And how did you, what your findings? What did you find through your experience in Midori Farm? Did it meet your expectation?
Oh, definitely. It was better than what I expected by a long shot. I'm very thankful, especially to the people I got to meet. I was very inspired, and I think my mind was just really open to what's possible. And like Chuck, you were saying a lot of like how you learn and how you approach your work is from trial and error, but also what you've read like in books and online. And for me, that was very inspiring because I was thinking, wow, I can take that back with me. And I've kind of seen what's possible. And if I dedicate myself the way that Chuck has, then I can start my own farm like this. Yes. So I learned a lot about basic farming skills as well, like pest management, especially being organic. That was something I was very curious to know more about. So yeah, pest management, monkeys, and yes, propagation, seedlings, and yeah, just the small steps that otherwise I would not have considered if I was doing it myself.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Hannah. And yeah, I think it's hard to know what to expect when you enter a situation. And coming to Japan with kind of the ideas already that you wanted to change your life, you didn't really have any goals or anything. You were open for anything. I think you kind of came to the farm probably in a lot the same way that it's not that you were coming expecting something. You were just trying something out and doing something a bit different. And you were a bit outside your comfort zone, maybe? No?
Yeah. Well, I was mainly worried. I've done a lot of sports in the past, but I've never really done manual like labor other than helping my parents renovate the house. So I think that was out of my comfort zone, that I wasn't quite sure if I'd be capable physically. So that was pushing myself. But as soon as we got stuck in, I realized that I could do it. And you were very patient with my many, many, many questions all the time. So yeah.
Well, you were tip top as far as volunteers go, really, Hannah. There was nothing you didn't do well. So I was really lucky to have you. And on a personal note, thank you again, because when you came, which was what, about beginning of September, was it?
Yeah, very start of September.
Very start of September, right? And you stayed quite a long time, even longer than you'd expected, because your flights kept changing and everything. But when you came, I think I'd been at least a month, if not more, without anyone at the farm. And for my situation, my operations from 3 years ago, I didn't have anybody. So my operation was at this sort of level, but over the 3 years, it went up and up because I had more help. So I was then operating at this level, and suddenly no volunteers, but I still had this many customers and this many expectations of my farm. So I was working just myself to death, trying to get everything done, and a lot went undone. And when you came along, it was just like, thank you. You know, my prayers have been answered, not only because someone was coming, but because someone as good as you was able to come out. So thank you again for all your hard work.
Thank you very much. No, it was very satisfying to see tangible like outcomes for the work I was doing. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, can't thank you enough for the experience. Definitely a highlight of my year.
Oh, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, let's switch it back over to Clémentine then. You kind of said how you found your way to Midori Farm a little bit, but I'm also curious in how what sort of expectations you had when you were going to come out here. I mean, first of all, maybe you can tell me, how did you first come across Midori Farm?
Yes, that was so. I mentioned I was living in Kyoto, and I think if you live in Kyoto for a year or something, you don't spend a year without hearing about Chuck or Midori Farm. Even though we really didn't meet for real, but I think you're quite a famous character in Kyoto. So.
That's funny. Don't embarrass me.
No, or maybe your vegetables, I can say.
Okay,
They're very famous. Yeah, so I knew there was this person having an organic farm, which I thought was much closer to Kyoto. I thought it was in Kyoto. I didn't really have an idea in general of volunteering in an organic farm. I think my idea from the beginning was to volunteer at your farm because I had this connection in my mind that I already had seen your vegetables. I ordered when I was living with my roommate, Kia, which was ordering your vegetables baskets. And I knew they would come without any plastic, which I never had again anywhere else. Even now that I live in the countryside, I thought it would be easier, but it's actually harder. Even organic vegetables are sold in a lot of plastic, individual plastic sometimes, which is crazy. I think things connected in I don't know how. At the same time, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about I'm never going to have the experience of learning things in what I do in my own work, right? And now I don't have any work because of COVID. And then the 2 days after that, after I started to think about this, I saw you had an interview with Joy Walsh on YouTube.
Yes.
And you were talking
Joy,
about having volunteers. And I was thinking, oh, okay, so you already have an organization. You already take volunteers and you don't have any at the moment. So maybe I could go there. I didn't have a clear idea of what would be the stay. I think, Hannah, if you went to the website, you probably saw the description, and I couldn't even listen to your talk fully, so I just heard a little bit, then I had to cut it off. So I didn't know what was the place that I would be living in, how often we would be together. And then, I discovered it slowly by talking to you. So that was a very, how can I say, the setting, the environment in which you're able to work if you volunteer at Midori Farm. I think that was probably one of the best surprise that I didn't expect. Like this, it's really a beautiful place, and it is isolated in a way that you're really connected to what you do. You're here to farm, so that's what you do, and you're not distracted by anything else. My phone connection was really bad, so I didn't have any phone connection. I had to walk a long way to get phone connection, which I gave up. I don't know, sorry. Do I answer your question?
You more than answered my question, and thank you for being so nice. So that's right, you were living with Kia for a year, right?
No, a little bit less. That was before I left for Miyazaki.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's wonderful. She's one of my valued customers and great friends, and I really, really respect her professionally as well. She's a tremendous person, and she's running the Peace Math project with her mother, of course, which is just an amazing project. So big shout out to her and her mom and everybody working on the Peace Math project. It's such a great thing they're doing. And you did actually get to eat the vegetables before you ever met me, which is nice, I think, because that's probably the best part of me, taking the vegetables. So I'm glad that was your introduction. And you also knew me a little bit through Benoit, no?
Yes. Also, yeah.
You
because
did some
Benoit
design work with him or something, or events? Or something?
No, I think just because I don't know how we connected, but being French in Kyoto, I think everyone kind of hear about another person, and I don't know how we met with Benoit. I forgot, but I know you were having events and selling your vegetables in his place, Yokai Soho.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was always missing them because I was working crazy. So I was also looking forward to spend time with the person behind the project, because after hearing about you from different people who I really like, it could only be a great experience, actually, even though we never met really. And this was also something I realized when I was there, because unfortunately I stayed only 10 days. I think I recommend for anybody else to stay longer if you want to have a better experience, because at the end I was starting to feel really confident, and then I had to go. But yeah, no, it's a great human experience as well, because you're I don't know, the fact that you're not always there and you trust the person that's staying, and I don't know, I could really feel your way of working, and that was, I wouldn't have enjoyed if it was not set up this way, I think. Also,
well, that's very nice to hear. Thank you. And I mean, being someone who creates, I'm not going to say you create something from nothing, because that's not true, but you're creating something very unusual out of something that other people may not necessarily take advantage of. And I feel like I'm doing the same thing in a way, because all the farms that I'm using are otherwise going to be just laying empty and fallow and just going back to nature. And I think it's very important to utilize these things, because not only is it going to be more environmentally conscious and sustainable, but it's also going to teach us a valuable lesson about how things continue to have value even when people think that they don't. And it's true for so many things, and it can overlay even to people. When we think like, okay, this person's out of my life, I no longer see them, but you can still stay connected with people, and you can still use things that you think are used up. And I think in life, especially now with climate change and everything else going on, that we need to kind of take a step back, slow our roll on consumption, and try to create more value in the things that we already have or that are already at hand. And so I really like what you're doing. And I love that you dug through that box of old kimono that were sitting in the corner and you found that jacket. Were you ever able to do something with that, or have you got?
Oh, I'm wearing it. I don't have it with me now. I wanted to wear it, but I'm not in Miyazaki. Unfortunately, I didn't take it.
Oh, that's okay.
But
so
I'm just wearing it in the end.
That's great. That's great. That's the best way, right? You don't have to do anything to change.
Yeah, I'll send you a photo next time. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, that would just be still sitting in the box. So I'm really glad that you're able to use it.
No, that was great. And yeah, I totally agree that I did a lot of parallels between what I do and when I was at the farm. The fact of like stopping all work to concentrate on farming, even if it was just for 10 days. Because you have a pattern of how you think, and so the same things I was thinking about when I create something, I would apply this to farming, and then I would also have your information to take in, which I think I still have with me, which is the really precious thing from this experience. And also I think that's important to notice, but if I imagine myself working and having someone with me that I need to teach and take care of, and I'm really amazed how comfortable you are and how smooth it is, because I would do that with much more difficulties.
I think I'm motivated partly by desperation and absolute necessity.
I mean, you like sharing what you do with people. We can feel that. So it's very natural how you introduce everything, and you see we do something right, so then you trust us, and I like the relation that it creates, because we also know that we have a purpose here. We're not here on holiday, right? It's your business, so we don't want to make you lose a crop, or I don't know, mess up with what we're doing. So
well, it's a big struggle, farming. I think it's one of the most difficult and most wonderful things I've done ever in my life. I'm a typical person who's had maybe 30 jobs in 30 different places in his life. And this is definitely the most rewarding and the best thing I've ever done. So I consider myself very lucky to have found it and to be able to continue doing it. And I'll just keep doing it as long as I can. And hopefully be able to have more great volunteers like you and Hannah join us. And I think without, I mean, it's actually impossible for anyone to come to Midori Farm and volunteer and not learn about farming, because you have to learn the job. So necessarily you're going to learn how to grow vegetables sustainably and how to manage things. And one of the things that I think is kind of a lot like what you do is composting, finding these raw materials that are otherwise unused and turning them into something incredibly great for the vegetables that you're producing. Compost is one of the best things for the farm. So today I picked up a big load of coffee grounds. Friday, my car will be full of shredded leaves. And, you know, I'm just getting more and more raw materials to bed down, you know, to winterize the farm for next spring and everything. So yeah, I love passing that information along, because it's not like I'm a teacher. It's just like I'm sharing some wisdom that actually, it's not a new learning thing. It's something I think we've just been forgetting our whole lives, of how valuable things are simply. So yeah, thank you. Okay, I'll turn it back to our participants now. Kathy, Tong, and Masako, do you have any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
All the stories were so interesting. I found that both Clementine and Hannah is very wonderful volunteer, but it came to me the very simple question to Chuck, because many volunteers would have visited you, but if we think generally, maybe not all the volunteer visitors necessarily be such a good person. And how have you reacted such not so mindful or such guys, so whose expectations are a little bit different what you expected?
Let me make sure I understand your question. So
Sorry,
you're asking me.
It's very difficult to explain. So both the Clementine and Hannah is very nice person. But since you are opening your farm, maybe there might be some person who is expecting something different, or very like things, or don't understand what your spirits. So when if such case occurs, how do you react?
Oh, I just kill them and compost them and put them right into the farm. It's no problem. No, I'm just kidding. Of course. There are definitely some people who come with different expectations, or who also may have something going on with them while they're here, that kind of cause us to kind of diverge in ideas and expectations. And it's a struggle for both sides, I think, for them and for myself. And I try to keep that in perspective, that these people are coming here to help. These people have the spirit of a volunteer, is goodwill. So I try to give them every respect and courtesy that I can, but also at the same time, I'm very driven to make this a success, because farming is a very difficult thing to grow vegetables, and then to turn around and try to sell those vegetables to make enough profit to be sustainable as a business is actually harder than actually growing the vegetables themselves.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes along who isn't a good match, we try to work things out. I try to have conversations with them and talk to them and find out what's possible or what's the problem or things like that. And I have to be honest with you, sometimes the match is so different that we have to say, okay, that's enough. We're just going to stop, and you know, you'll go back to Kyoto and continue your travels or a different place, and I'll try to find somebody else. And I mean, it's troublesome for both sides, but from my perspective as a host on Workaway or other volunteer organizations, it takes me months to screen applicants. I mean, before Corona, I would have 8 to 10 people applying for the same month or two, and I would have to just choose 1 or 2 people. And so I do a lot of screening, and I do a lot of background searches and conversations over the email. So then if that person doesn't work out for whatever reason, it's a great loss for me, of course, because I feel bad for that person, but also then I'm stuck because I can't just replace that person the next day. I have to go back and try to find somebody new. And unfortunately, I've lost the opportunity with the other people who are already interested. So I make every effort to make it the environment here something that's welcoming for them and easy for them and something that they can get into. But perhaps as Hannah and Clementine have kind of hinted at, is the work is hard. Farm work is not an easy kind of sit back and watch, take a break all the time. Oftentimes we're working, you know, from when I get here to when I leave, we have 30 minutes to an hour break for lunch, and then we're right back to it. And if it's sunny and hot, if it's rainy and cold, if it's windy, if it's whatever weather, we're still out there working. So this isn't just at Midori Farm, this is farmers around the world. We work in the weather, we work in this, we sweat, we get stung by insects and bitten, and we get leeches, and we see snakes, and, you know, we're terrified of maybe a monkey coming around the corner, or, you know, all these different things that, yeah, I mean, it's just a reality for us here at Midori
Yeah,
Farm.
thank you. That's my point. So maybe Clementine and Hannah is very maybe they also have struck something to overcome. So because their work is actually very hard. So that was my point. I'm very happy to hear that, Jack, you're in the first place try to understand each other and find a way, find a possible way to go along with them. So that is a very important point, and I'm not sure why the Clementine and Hannah is very they prove that it's a very good experience in your farm. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Masako. That was a good question. Tong, Kathy, do you have anything you'd like to ask or say?
Yeah. At first, I want to say, like, I think Hannah is really a smart, clever person that I met in Kyoto, actually. And I think we really had a good afternoon that day. And through the talking with Hannah, I can feel that her resolution when he decided to go back to the university to learn something new about the environment, about the farm, about farm or organic farm, these things, I can feel her resolution. And also, like, I think that she has the ability to do what she wanted to do, what she wants to do. And I hope that Hannah, I think you will have a great future.
Thank you, Dong. That's so kind of you.
Yeah, and I hope I can meet you again someday, that we have the ability to meet each other in the future again. Yeah.
Oh, I think so. Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Dong. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, me too. And I also have a question for Clementine and also for Chuck. So Clementine, you are a designer, and because I didn't follow the following conversation, so I'm not sure. I have no idea what designer you are actually. But my question is about you. Design you do a designer by creating something new to convey your idea. And how do you think it can change people's mind? Because sometimes it's very difficult to change people's mind, even though they agree with your idea, they agree with your conception. And how can you to change or share your ideas with people through your designs?
Oh, that's a tough question. Very good one. No, because I think if you see what's wrong in the industry, and if you see something you want to change, you want to do something different, and you want to convince people that they're doing the wrong thing, but not accusing them, just trying to say, like, maybe you don't have all the information, but if you have all the information, you can make a better choice. And I don't have the stamina, I think, to fight. I don't think I fight, or maybe it's a soft fight. I don't know. I think my point is more to deliver the genuine, transparent information about what I do, about what's done. I don't, for example, in my publications and everything, I don't criticize what's done another way. I think that's everyone is able or should be able to research enough to know what they're buying. But I want to make sure that when they come to me, they know exactly who is the person who created. If I collaborate with someone, I make sure this person is introduced. We know exactly what she or he does. For like right now, I'm currently in a project where I'm working with a weaver. They weave textiles, so I might do some pieces with new textile to make their industry last, because it's nice to use discarded materials, but it's also good to make sure traditions are kept alive. And I'm having all these questions in my mind, like how I can introduce their work to people who would have never met them if it was not through my creation. So I don't want to take the credit for the things, or I don't know how to say. I just want to introduce and present clearly what's being done. And then if you like it, you can buy it. If you don't, no one is asking you anything. So I think that's more my way of seeing. And it's the same for everything. For example, I'm vegetarian, and I don't think I ever advise someone to be vegetarian. I don't think this is something. I think everyone should be able to get their own information and know what they're best for them. So yeah, I'm not really how can I say, a hard fighter. I just want to do at my scale what I can do, and hopefully it's enough.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's like most of people, they have their ideas. It doesn't want to like make people to, how to say, make people to buy or really accept what they think. It's like I give you my information, my idea, and I hope you can enjoy the idea. And if you want to change, like people really want to change, they can change by themselves. Like, but how to say, it's kind of difficult because like I sometimes feel desperate because I'm learning meteorology and under the coronavirus. So from what I'm doing the research about the weather, like people, I'm not sure people really care about the environment or the climate change, but the situation is going worse than before, even though people don't go out, don't travel. But when you see the things, you feel like a little desperate. You feel a little not so good, actually, as usual. Yeah. So that's my question. Like we want to clarify something that is very obvious, but they know they know the facts, but they still don't want to change. Like doing organic farm is really good for the environment, even though the price is higher than the normal goods, but they still want to choose the, how to say, just sorry, it's kind of like complaining, but yeah, I appreciate your answers, and through your answer I can see what you are, who you are.
Sorry to interrupt. I have to go. Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Masako. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Yeah, I think, but that's what I thought when I was at the farm. Like, of course, organic vegetables are more expensive, but honestly, when you go to the farm, I think we even had this conversation with Hannah. Like, you're surprised that it's not even more expensive than what it is, because
yes, actually,
behind and maybe we should all have in our scholar programs these kind of things again, to have the experience, because if you do the experience, then no one needs to try to convince you it's the right thing. You will know it's the right thing. So maybe that's not, maybe that's more education or political, or that's why I feel you don't have to take all the weight on your own shoulders. I think it's the whole structure that we live in that needs to carry this kind of knowledge and share them.
Yeah.
I agree.
Great.
I think we need to, sorry, Jack.
No, go ahead, Hannah.
I think we need to just rethink our consumerism of everything. Like you said, Tong, people have the option to buy organic, but more often than not, unfortunately, they usually choose just the cheaper or the more convenient option. And it's like what we're programmed to do now. And through years of just marketing, and supermarkets, unfortunately, just aren't making things better. And we have now that separation from the farmer, the separation from the process. And yeah, Clémentine, you mentioned you're vegetarian, and same for me. And a lot of people don't understand why. You think, well, you walk into a supermarket and there's your neatly packed mince or whatever on a plastic tray. There's no awareness of the animal behind that, or also the entire process behind that, and all the waste material involved. And not just that your beef used to be a cow, which for some has its own ethical implications, but before that, how much feed was required, the transportation required, the land that was necessary just to raise the cattle, the water. We're just not aware of it. And I think there is a growing community that are trying to kind of spread the word, I suppose you could say, or educate others. So I'd like to have hope and faith that that is going to change. But it's just, we live in this culture based on convenience now. Hopefully post-COVID, people start to rethink that and try to live with shorter supply chains.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Tong, those are very good questions. Thank you for asking them. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's closing in on one. It's about just past 1 o'clock now. So I think it's about time to wrap things up. Unfortunately, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'd love if it would continue on, but I've got a schedule to keep and I've got to get back to the farm.
Maybe you can plan a part 2.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good idea.
I could talk for hours.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well then let's do that. Let's revisit this conversation. Before we go, pardon? Before we go, I would like it if both Clémentine and Hannah could, just consider yourselves as a spokesperson for Midori Farm, telling people basically what your experience was like and giving them the highlights and maybe the lowlights too about what to expect if somebody were thinking about volunteering. Because as you all know, I am currently seeking more volunteers, and I'm happy to share this experience with as many people as possible. But it's difficult for people to get a real sense of what it's going to be like. So Hannah, if you could start, maybe you could just consider yourself talking to a fellow Australian, for that matter. So you can use your own lingo and, chock-a-block and things like that. And just basically let people know what they might expect if they were thinking of volunteering for.
Sure.
Maybe just a minute or two. It doesn't have to be too long.
No, of course. I think Midori Farm provides an absolutely exceptional opportunity to not only see a part of Japan that you just wouldn't get the opportunity to do that if you are being a regular tourist or traveling or backpacking. It's such a small step off the beaten track, but well worth it. And yeah, trying to see or regain that connection with nature and growing food on a farm. Yes, it's hard work, but it's not. At no point during my stay, and I was at Midori Farm for a little over a month, I think, was it? At no point during my stay did I feel like I was faced with anything that I shouldn't have been, or I never felt your expectations were too high of me. It was always something that I could achieve, and it felt good being able to achieve it. like Clémentine mentioned earlier, as a educator and a teacher, Chuck, it was so clear how passionate you were about the project, and that enthusiasm really just rubs off. And my high point was seeing the progress and seeing the outcome and the harvest. Like, that was great. I didn't realize you get to harvest like 3 times a week. 3 times a week you get in the garden and pick eggplants and tomatoes and okra, which I didn't realize grew so quickly. And we chopped some like pumpkin and watermelon. That was wonderful for me, because going into the experience, I thought, oh, if I'm lucky, I might get to pick something at the end once it's grown. But it was amazing getting to plant seedlings. Like, we did the radishes and the lettuce leaf. And then like 2 weeks later, we were picking it. So yeah, really good to have that connection to the earth, get your hands dirty. If you're not keen on insects, maybe have a little bit of a think. But if you're Aussie, you'll be fine, because snakes, spiders, it's all good. But yeah, for me, it was the monkeys, but the thing that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. There was just one night that I think they were on the roof. And that was I was like, oh my gosh, is it going to try and come inside? I don't, got opposable thumbs. I can't handle that. But yeah. So yeah, that would be my only concern for people coming. If you really have a thing against bugs, but then you're going to be stuck no matter where you go in nature. They're a part of the ecosystem, a necessary part. So yeah, don't not go, just become friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Learn to love the insects. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, Hannah, so much for that. And Clémentine, now it's your turn. Just as Hannah described for us what it's like to volunteer here, acting as kind of a spokesperson for people from her home country of Australia, I'm hoping you could give some people from France and Belgium and other French-speaking regions some insights on what one might expect if they are going to volunteer on an organic farm, even here at Midori Farm. Again, we're not talking just about Midori Farm, however, because I think that volunteering is such a rich experience for the volunteer and the host. And it really brings people together, and it helps organic projects and sustainable projects along that otherwise may not get off the ground. So it's doubly important that people get a good sense of what there is to expect if you're going to come out to an organic farm. And of course, you can speak in French so everybody back home can understand you. So, Clémentine, please take it away.
Alors, si vous comptez vivre une expérience de bénévolat dans une exploitation maraîchère, une ferme maraîchère, et que vous avez déjà entendu parler de Midori Farm, je pense que c'est vraiment une bonne adresse, puisque vous aurez un cadre avec assez d'isolation pour profiter de l'expérience aussi de vivre en plein cœur de la nature, tout en travaillant la journée dans la ferme biologique. Ce qui, moi, m'a beaucoup marqué, c'était surtout le fait de dépendre entièrement de la nature en vivant là-bas, c'est-à-dire que dans la maison, il n'y a que l'eau de la rivière qui passe. On est obligé de faire des petites choses dont on n'a pas l'habitude quand on habite en ville, etc., qui prennent du temps. Mais en fait, on se concentre beaucoup plus sur le fait de vivre au fil du temps, au fil des saisons, au fil de la météo. Donc qu'il pleuve, qu'il fasse beau, on sera dehors à travailler aussi, qui est une expérience super enrichissante, puisque on dit souvent que dans la nature il n'y a pas de mauvais temps, il y a juste du temps, et quand il pleut, c'est très bien pour les plantes. Si par contre vous avez un petit problème avec les insectes ou les petites bêtes, peut-être reconsidérer votre choix, puisque tout l'intérêt d'une ferme biologique, c'est que la faune est complètement libre de se développer. Donc il y a pas mal d'insectes. Moi personnellement, j'ai pas éprouvé de dérangement en vivant là-bas, mais c'était tout l'intérêt aussi de conserver tout l'écosystème qu'il y a dans la ferme. Donc si vous n'aimez pas les petites bêtes, peut-être que la ferme bio, c'est pas forcément la bonne idée. Mais si vous arrivez à vivre l'expérience et à vous adapter à ça, je pense que c'est vraiment la plus belle chose, parce que même moi, les choses qui auraient pu me déranger, en fait, m'ont pas dérangé du tout, puisqu'on se rend compte que tout est interdépendant, tout est connecté, et c'est vraiment important. Et le plus important dans toute l'expérience, c'est à quel point ça peut vous enrichir, en fait, puisque chaque jour, vous allez apprendre des nouvelles choses. Et j'étais assez surprise de voir à quel point on peut apprendre beaucoup de choses en si peu de temps. Je vous conseille de rester peut-être le plus longtemps possible pour avoir l'occasion de voir grandir les choses que vous avez faites pousser, pour vraiment se rendre compte du travail que ça représente. Je pense qu'en étalant la durée, c'est beaucoup plus enrichissant. Ouais, et voilà. Et en plus, vous aurez l'occasion de travailler avec quelqu'un de super, qui a beaucoup de patience, beaucoup de pédagogie. Donc voilà, je vous recommande fortement d'aller tenter l'expérience à Midori Farm.